about exercise. So I've taken pictures of my body, guys. I've taken pictures of the amount of fat in my body, guys, and partly I fat shamed myself, a little bit, not badly. And I love the way my progeny is accepting, and also, the one. But just to say, and that all helps. That's great for mental health. But I think what's made me realise that I need to work harder, partly, is internal anatomy changes, internal disabilities, which have become apparent through conversations with holders of medical licenses, extremely well-trained people, especially one of them in London. And they have told me that, my internal anatomy is causing actually quite different changes. In terms of exercise, there is quite a substantial difference in my exercise tolerance and capacity. So all that needs to be borne into consideration, really. And so, so here we find ourselves today with JC Audits here in this wonderful, wonderful patch of land we call home. So, without further ado, I shall do stuff. So, I have dinosaurs flying overhead. Second generation star. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts, guys. Yeah. We look around us. We look around ourselves. We look around the place today, and we see mammals. We see dinosaurs. I mean, the reason why I'm able to do, first of all, just to say I'm grateful about this opportunity to broadcast to so many people. So the reason why you're able to watch is I have photosensitive detector, I have a transmitter, we have satellites, and then those are connected to masts, all of the electromagnetic spectrum. You have the decoding. So a lot of this is electromagnetic frequencies, uplinks, downlinks, all this kind of thing. So essentially what we have here is an outside broadcast of dubious quality. So you tuned in today because it's a known brand. JC Audits is a known brand, and whether you like it or not, I happen to be an influencer. Okay, let's say I'm not the top of the top influencers, which is absolutely fine with me. It also allows me to pretty much say what I want without too much fear of judgment, too much fear of, etc. Blah blah blah. So all that's good. So that's the stage I have. And then the deeper aspect is 500 million years ago, Precambrian explosion. 65 million years ago, dinosaurs died out, apart from the ones flying over my head. which are dinosaur descendants. We do have a common ancestor with the dinosaurs. What that is, I'm not sure. So maybe somebody could find that out for me. But yeah. And then obviously the other thing is 6 million years ago, let's say for argument's sake we split with apes. 250,000 years ago, our species, our species, sorry, don't know the right word, but Homo sapiens, our type of humans, evolved. 10,000 years ago, farming. 250,000 years ago, 2.5 thousand years ago, the Old Testament, the foundations of that were being written. So pretty much an agricultural society, pre-industrial revolution. They had their writing systems. The Bible was written, let's say, for argument's sake, around 2,000 years ago. Jesus Christ's anniversary, which is the anniversary of his death, is in 2033. Jesus Christ was 33. And let's not forget that. I want to talk about Jesus Christ for the next 6 years. Because let's face it, Jesus Christ is extremely important, especially in the UK, monarchs, like for example King Charles, Queen II, Queen Victoria, Queen Mother, Queen Victoria. These are all recent, Prince Edward. These are all monarchs that had the, the powers bestowed upon them by God, and specifically by Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is extremely important for the UK, extremely important. So let's not forget that. Let's not forget that at all. Jesus Christ as a figure. Let's talk about Jesus Christ as a figure. I only wish that Ollie Bob was here to guide me. Ollie Bob is I would say a resident, maybe slightly dormant at the moment, which is absolutely understandable, given the content of this channel and the direction of this channel. Ollie Bob is somebody that I personally met, has a heart very true to Christ that I've ever seen, in my life, and this sort of heart that is genuine, and also that really loves Jesus. You can just tell that there's an amazing love for Jesus. So that's absolutely wonderful to see, to hear. Like an extreme love of Jesus. I've never seen anything like that, but also incredibly humble. If you go to my channel pages, of course, if I say he's incredibly humble, then you might not, Ollie Bob himself might disagree with that, but this is a man who not only talks the talk, he walks the walk as well. And he's done channel stuff. He's done work on one church, at Liverpool. He helps the poor. I mean, what more could you want? What more could you really want in a person? Go to Liverpool to see him in person. Join this church. This is like a modern day prophet. You can't get anyone, in my opinion, And who am I to say this? Well, I used to be a Christian. I used to be a Christian in the sense that I followed my pastor's advice. I followed his advice, and I followed his advice very clearly, and I had some disbelief in God, and I gave it up, guys. I gave it up. I gave up my disbelief, guys. I gave up my disbelief. I gave my disbelief to God, guys. And my disbelief went to God, guys. It went to God, and then all of a sudden, I became a Christian, guys. I really did become a Christian because I gave my disbelief to God. So there you go. I became a Christian, and then a certain amount of months passed, and then I was at a Christian event, and then a big tent pole, metal thing, almost fell on my head, and I thought, yeah, I need to get out of this church. I need to leave this church. Whether it was a warning from God or just a simple mistake, I thought, oh yeah, that coupled with the pastor's son making sheep noises in a very public place, in fact in a convention, just made me think, okay, it's time to leave. It's time to leave this church. And I did. I left the church, despite the connections, and I wandered. And I've been wandering for years, you could say for a decade or more. Maybe even approaching 2 decades of wandering. And this wandering, you could argue, will eventually lead to my destruction in hell. When Judgment Day comes, when Jesus Christ returns to earth, then my body, whatever it is, the half body will be risen or whatever, and it won't actually go to heaven. It might go to, maybe to a purgatory if there's such a thing. But the pearly gates, the Judgment Day, when I get judged on my belief, I will absolutely fail. I will absolutely fail that 100%. So that's really, really interesting to note. Really interesting to know then that I will indeed fail that. I mean, that's absolutely very, very clear that that I won't go to heaven. That's also okay. And then the other thing to think about is what is hell. And I spoke to Ollie Bob regarding this, and Ollie Bob has informed me, well, hell isn't the fire and brimstone. It's not the gnashing of teeth or the endless pain and torture. It is merely the absence of God. Well, you could argue then that because God is not present in my life, that I am indeed in hell right now. The hell is upon me. You could even argue that. Okay, so that is absolutely a crazy thing, an amazing thing to realise that I am in fact in hell. So you're looking, in fact, at a descendant of a monkey, the great ape. With 99, let's say, % similarity, or 98 genetic % similarity to a chimpanzee, who was given the chance to believe in Jesus, turned it down or shunned it, and then is going to the state where he's no longer going to heaven. And heaven is clear, it's a state of being with God. That's one way of looking at it. Others would go as far as say it's celebrating and praising God, maybe daily. So heaven can vary from religion to religion. And the interesting thing about religions, as I mentioned yesterday, is religions, once you believe in one religion, then you're an atheist. You're an atheist to all other religions that have key doctrines that are different to your religion, because that's what being religious is. In fact, being religious, believing in God, or being part of a religion, I think there's a slight difference there. You might correct me on that. Being part of a religion, saying you're Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, I'd argue, then you're actually saying you're an atheist. So me, not particularly believing in anything, not believing in God, but having suspicions that I'm a descendant of a great ape rather than made by the hand of God, fashioned from sand, with no divine spark in me, as the Catholics would have us believe. No divine spark, yet that would then mean that I don't really have any sort of belief in anything, really, in anything sort of like spiritual. So I am a non-atheist. Even though I'm an atheist, I'm less of an atheist than a Christian. I'm less of an atheist than a Muslim, than a Buddhist, than a Zoroastrian, than a Sikh. If you want to see the atheists, go to some of these religious people, because they will be more atheistic than me. Okay, so that's the interesting point. 500 years ago, bit of a different scenario. Didn't have the internet. We were lacking programs, lacking education, lacking blueprints. So there was a lot more, families were a lot more interdependent on each other. Religion offered as a framework, as a common guiding principle, And of course, if you go back 15,000 years, 20,000 years, then the framework, the unit was quite tight. We were hunter-gatherers. There's still hunter-gatherers around, but we were hunter-gatherers as humans. And even more dependent on our neighbour. So now we have a scenario in the West, in the UK, where human life is revered like it's something holy. If somebody comes and pulls the trigger on me and kills me, because I will kill myself through either lifestyle or disease, then there will be an investigation. My body will be picked up, etc. They will try and find out who did it, because it's a violation against the norms in such an extreme way, because it's violating the right to life. And so all these people I see around me today, mostly going to work, these people, they have a right to life. The person who's 99 has just as much as a right to life than a 2-year-old. Or is that true? Because there are certain criteria that medical professionals will decide, who we're going to give the resources to. It's very interesting. So as we get older, there's, we realise that private health care comes to the fore. I have private health care. It's not because what you think, but I do have private health care. To a certain extent I have it. So, but I'm just lucky. I'm lucky because there's some things I did that enable me to get it, at least for a certain amount of time. So that is a health inequality, and I'm exploiting it. I'm using that health inequality. So not everyone has that access. I mean, in the UK, it is even more privileged. Free at the point of care. You know. So the States, the nation of hamburger. There is that sort of sense that where's your healthcare insurance? You've got a big healthcare bill. You know what I mean? So there's all that. So we'll just bear that all in mind. So again, the reason why I'm talking to you today is I want to talk to you about exercise. So I started talking to you about fat earlier on today in this live stream / podcast. So I started talking about fat, and so fat is what I might attack, but I have to attack it in specific ways, in ways that do not jeopardize my ability to exercise, my general health, my joints, my safety, my ability to work and care. So I'm both a carer and a worker, in the sense that I'm an able-bodied male and do not wish to negatively influence my ability to work and procreate. So there's also that as well. So I need to keep my body intact, free from large amounts of pain. So to do that, I need to exercise safely. So safely is the name of the game. So a good safe way can be, for me, is to walk, which is what I'm doing now. So I've taken it back a notch. I've moved it back from running to walking. So an extremely low impact, thing. So I can speed up that walk. I can speed up that walk. So Bruce protocol almost, speed it up, and do certain things. I stopped to test the other day because it was getting too much. I thought I was going to suffocate, going to pass out. I felt a bit claustrophobic. That's on one of my lives, guys. Today I had some water after I got up, but I didn't have breakfast. So I had some water and didn't have breakfast. So that's something that I done. Had water. And in this country, we've got a surname saying drink water, which is very interesting. You know what I mean? So that's a very interesting phenomenon. So maybe it is important to drink water. We don't want to go for squash here. So squash is something that we might want to avoid. The other thing, have I finished talking about exercise? No, not really. What more could we say about exercise? So exercise, as I mentioned, yesterday's rhythmic. It's planned. See, the basic tenets is voluntary, and it involves working the major muscle groups of the body. So that is exercise, in my opinion. Again, I might be wrong. You might challenge me on that. So why is exercise important? Exercise is important because it helps stabilize our blood sugars. It helps boost serotonin levels. It helps strengthen our bones. Well, you might argue, how is walking strengthening my bones? Well, actually, it's the muscles that pull via ligaments on the bones, helping to strengthen them, creating stress on the bone. You know, the osteoblasts like a little bit of stress. They react to it. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Look up osteoblasts. Okay, the effect of exercise on bones. With respect to osteoblast activity. If you put that into AI, it should generate some answers for you to look at. So, strengthening of bones. Of course, strength training or resistance training, whether it's isometric, concentric, eccentric, then also has an effect on the bones via the muscles. Potentially also, because I'd say it does via the muscles. Because, to maintain a load on a bone, potentially you're going to need muscles. I mean, you might be able to get it without muscles, but I don't think you'll be able to. I don't know how controlled that would be, how safe it would be. So you can do all these kinds of things. So exercise, super important. Really consider doing that. So we mentioned mental health. We mentioned your own health benefits. So it also, if I didn't mention it earlier, helps clear blood sugar levels, because obviously in 2026 in the UK, our society is built around this machine which reduces our ability and need to exercise, to walk. This machine is a killer. It not only kills people through high velocity accidents, let's put it that way. It also reduces that need to exercise, as well as supermarkets as well. Supermarkets are linked into fast food. The food industry would even try to market things as healthy, because they know that the consumers are on the lookout for high protein, healthy stuff. So let's see how we can just grab their attention in those first few bits of advertising, first few words they see, and then the human makes a decision in those first couple of seconds. This food is healthy to eat, without looking at the ingredients too much. They buy it, and the cycle perpetuates. Low exercise levels, poor food, leading then to long-term stresses on the body, such as adipose tissue, which is fat. So that tissue then, metabolically not very active tissue, can lead to further health complaints such as high blood pressure and high blood pressure and probably a few other things I'm not really aware of. High blood pressure, because it does have some vascularity to this, to the heart that has to pump blood through new channels. Smaller channels, which might increase the blood pressure. It also, fat has this, I think, is might be termed as an inflammatory tissue. So the body is in a state of inflammation, which then decreases things like the resistance to illnesses. So inflammation, a perpetual state of inflammation can be negative, can have negative effects on the body. So inflammation is one of the tenets of pretty much many diseases. Rubor, calor, dolor. Rubor and decreased function. I think there's a functioletio. These are tenets of disease. But also, I think inflammation goes pretty much hand in hand with that. Again, medics, correct me if I'm wrong. So you might like to look on AI at the 4 tenets of disease, including rubor, dolor, calor, and functioletio. Rubor, dolor, calor, functioletio. Redness, heat, and functioletio. Okay, guys. I think I may even